Welcome back, everybody. There is no question that our nation is energy dependent once again. And what's ironic about that is that our dependency is now that European nations are turning somewhat of a blind eye, great thanks to this president's administration and lack of diplomatic leadership. So joining us now for a discussion on energy is the former ambassador of Denmark and the current vice chair at the Center for Energy and Environment for the America First Policy Institute, Ambassador Carla Sands. It's great to see you. Thank you for coming back.
Great to see you too, Amanda, and I'm happy to talk about energy.
Yes, and we're going to get to that in just a moment, but I wanted to talk to you about the topic of the hour. I've been speaking about this with our first two guests regarding these Pentagon leaks. On its face, I think that a lot of Americans see this and they think it's relatively concerning. Unfortunately, we've been used to leaks from the Trump administration, but this time around, with respect to our national security, playing fast and loose with leaks, it's been out there for a month. This could turn into something much worse.
Well, we're certain that Russia and China, our principal adversaries, have already taken a look at everything and have every bit of information, and maybe some we don't know about. Now we're hearing that this could be worse than the Snowden leak. And it stresses our relationship with our allies. I mean, they know that, and we all collect on each other, right? We all want to know everything about everything. But the fact is, it doesn't feel good when you talk about it openly. And we ask a lot of our allies. Some of them really come through for us, but it's our adversaries I'm mostly worried about. And the fact that an American who is involved with our military in some way has done something so traitorous to our country, our nation, when our taxpayers are funding this effort in Ukraine, not the Europeans who should be, but mostly the American taxpayers. And now we have one of our own that's betrayed the trust of our country. And it really is a terrible thing. And I hope that they get to the bottom of it. And I'm not sure that the circle that shares this top secret information should be as large as it is. Perhaps we need better controls on secure documents.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you nailed it. When you have that many people who have this information, I think that leaks, unfortunately, are inevitable. I'm with you. I can't imagine the mindset where you would do something like that deliberately. But I do want to switch over to the climate conversation. You know, we have seen a lot of climate studies that this administration has cited. That was one of the reasons that they started talking about banning gas stoves, which everyone seems to be universally opposed to. It seems like every time the federal government is spending money on these, well, spending money in general, but spending money on these types of climate studies, they just don't bear fruit.
No, you're absolutely right. So if we think about HR 1 and the Lower Energy Costs Act, it unleashes American energy and benefits American families. It's so important that we actually unleash our American energy and return to energy dominance. And we know on day one what Joe Biden and his administration did is they went to war with our American energy. And now, for instance, in my home state of Pennsylvania, we're producing less energy this year than we did last year, but the need has gone up. So it's because of Biden's anti-energy policies that this is happening. And we know the number one thing we can do to bring down the cost of everything is to lower the price of energy. And this hydrocarbons, the fossil fuels, are in everything we use, from diapers to toothbrushes to cement. It's in our building materials. It's in almost everything that we touch each day, even in our cars. And so we need to lower the cost. And what HR 1 does is it does lower those costs. It makes it possible to build again, because our infrastructure in America is crumbling. If you go around the world, you can see beautiful buildings that are built and they're attractive. Meanwhile, America, the richest country in the world, isn't taking care of our infrastructure because I would say the climate alarmists, the Green Army, has made it almost impossible to build. It takes an average of 4.5 years just to get permits for a project, 7 for a road. And if it's a road in California, a lot longer than that. So we have to reduce, and that's something that HR does. It reduces how much time things take to go through review process so that there's not this war on development where it's denial kills the project. In other words, they just delay to deny. We also know that it allows us to send pipes with our energy throughout our country. It allows us to sell our energy, our natural gas, and it bans Joe Biden. It stops him from banning fracking, and that's very important.
Gosh, you think 4 years of red tape. I mean, you can become a lawyer in less time, which is a whole nother problem within itself. I want to switch over to the issue of electric cars. This administration seems to be shoving it down the American people's throats. I live here in California. I have seen the pressure that electric cars have put on the grid. Oftentimes, if you have an electric vehicle, you have to drive around from station to station to station because our traditional grid is just not there. Republicans have for a long time had a bad reputation not supporting green energy, which is not true at all. We just can't put the cart before the horse. Talk to us about the issue of electric vehicles, because someday I would love for that to be a solution. It just doesn't seem to be yet.
Right, it's true. It doesn't. And Joe Biden wants to make all of America like California. And we know that people are leaving. They're moving. They're voting with their feet and leaving California because of those bad regulations and bad leadership. The idea that you can make all electric cars in California, well, the grid doesn't support it. And we don't even have enough critical minerals. And that's things that go in the batteries in an electric car or in your cell phone. We don't have enough in the world, and they're produced oftentimes by child and slave labor, and also in China, where they're produced often by slave labor, with the Uyghur people being in concentration camps and being forced to make things like solar panels. But we like to have a clean environment. We like to have cheap and abundant energy. And we know that American natural gas, the miracle of American fracking, has actually cleaned up our environment and made us far cleaner than, say, our European counterparts because of our fracking. It's the American miracle, and it has lowered the cost of energy. So we need to maximize that. The grid can't support all those electric cars. And in fact, many other states besides California is part of that agreement. New York, Pennsylvania, I think Virginia, and others. So we want to make sure we stop that progress. It's not progress, it's regress.
Such incredible points, and like you said, these are not points that the left wants to bring up because it doesn't align with their narrative. Ambassador Sands, you are such a wealth of knowledge. We love having you on every time that you are able to give us some time, so thank you again.